Stop everything. Before you make your Mother's Day plans, before you book the restaurant, before you tell your family to drive across town for brunch, before you set up tables in the backyard for an outdoor celebration, you need to hear this. Because right now, as you are reading these words, a dangerous storm system is rapidly developing across the southern plains of the United States. And it has chosen one of the most heavily traveled, most emotionally significant days of the entire American calendar to arrive at full force. Mother's Day is supposed to be about flowers and family and gratitude. But in the history of American severe weather, Mother's Day has also been the backdrop for some of the most violent and deadly storm events ever recorded. And what is building today, right now, this morning, is not a passing inconvenience. It is a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk severe weather event, a classification that meteorologists do not issue casually. It is the classification that was in place before some of the most destructive outbreaks of the past decade. And if you live anywhere from Dallas-Fort Worth through Oklahoma City, through Shreveport and Little Rock, through the Mississippi River Valley, and into the Deep South, the question you need to be asking yourself right now is not whether you should enjoy Mother's Day. The question is whether you have a shelter plan before these storms arrive. Get ready, because there's something genuinely shocking about the history of severe weather and Mother's Day specifically. Many people think of Mother's Day as one of the safest weekends of the year. Family brunches, backyard gatherings, outdoor photos, graduation parties, parks full of people, roads crowded with travelers. It feels calm, domestic, protected. But the atmosphere does not recognize calendars. It does not care about holidays, family plans, or restaurant reservations. And history proves it. In 1965, during Mother's Day weekend, one of the deadliest tornado outbreaks ever recorded tore across the Midwest. Known to meteorologists as the Palm Sunday tornado outbreak, the event unleashed 37 tornadoes across Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan in a single afternoon and evening. It killed 271 people and injured thousands more. Entire neighborhoods were erased in minutes. Families gathered for a holiday suddenly found themselves in one of the most violent atmospheric disasters in American history. That outbreak remains among the 10 deadliest tornado outbreaks ever documented in the United States. And it was tied to a holiday weekend many assumed would be ordinary. The pattern did not end there. In 2008, severe storms and tornadoes struck areas of Kansas and Missouri during Mother's Day celebrations. In 2010, powerful storms produced tornadoes across Mississippi and Alabama on Mother's Day. This matters because holiday weather risk is often underestimated. People are distracted. They are traveling. They are cooking. They are at restaurants where warnings may be ignored. They are outdoors taking photos. They are less likely to be watching radar than on a normal weekday when storms dominate the news cycle. That human behavior becomes part of the hazard. A moderate storm threat on an ordinary Tuesday may be safer than the same threat on a family holiday when nobody is paying attention. And that brings us to what is happening right now. The Storm Prediction Center has issued an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5, for a significant corridor of the southern plains, including the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, extending back toward Abilene and south toward Waco. Forecast discussions highlight threats including large hail, damaging winds, and the potential for tornadoes. An enhanced risk is not routine background weather. It means atmospheric ingredients are aligning strongly enough for organized severe storms with a greater concentration and intensity than lower categories typically imply. Think about the setup. Warm, humid Gulf air at the surface. Cooler, faster moving air aloft, a boundary or cold front to force storms upward, wind shear changing speed and direction with height. That combination creates rotating thunderstorms capable of producing destructive hail, straight-line wind damage, and tornadoes. For millions of people, the danger window often begins late afternoon and extends into evening, exactly when holiday travel increases and many families are least focused on weather. That timing matters. Night storms are more dangerous because tornadoes are harder to see, warnings are easier to miss, and people are often driving or asleep. So here's the real message. Do not let the holiday mood override the forecast. Have multiple ways to receive warnings. Know where you would shelter if a tornado warning is issued. If you are at a restaurant, store, or event venue, identify the safest interior room immediately. If driving, know that vehicles are poor protection in tornadoes and dangerous in large hail. Mother's Day has seen deadly outbreaks before. The atmosphere has a long memory. And when forecasters raise the risk level on a day people are distracted, that deserves immediate attention. This is not a marginal threat. Enhanced risk is the third highest classification on a 5-point scale, and historically, enhanced risk days produce widespread severe weather that generates damaging winds across broad corridors, multiple reports of large hail, and confirmed tornadoes. To the east, there's a large slight risk of severe weather stretching from Little Rock back into Jackson, Mississippi. Beyond that, a marginal threat extends all the way into Alabama. Florida and Georgia are also included in a separate marginal threat zone on the outer edge of this system. The footprint of this storm system covers tens of millions of people. Every single one of them needs a weather plan for today. Get ready, because the dominant hazard today is wind, and the wind numbers being discussed by forecasters should make every person outdoors in Texas and the surrounding states stop and think carefully. The line of thunderstorms developing this afternoon is expected to produce damaging winds ranging from 60 to as high as 85 miles per hour along the most intense portions of the squall line. 85 miles per hour. That is a number that belongs in a hurricane discussion, not a spring thunderstorm forecast. It is faster than the minimum wind speed required to classify a Category 1 hurricane. It is fast enough to shatter windows, lift trampolines and yard furniture into the air and send them flying as projectiles, knock down trees that have been standing for decades, snap power poles, and strip the exterior siding off homes and businesses. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, in Abilene, or anywhere in the Texas severe weather corridor today, anything loose outside needs to be secured or brought in right now, not after lunch, not when you see clouds forming, right now. Because by the time you see the line coming on the radar, you will not have time to go back outside and drag it in safely. Stay alert and understand that this is not just a wind event. The instability values loaded into the atmosphere over Texas right now are extraordinary by any measure. Near Abilene this afternoon, the atmosphere is going to be running close to 4,000 joules per kilogram of convective available potential energy, CAPE in meteorological language. That number needs context to mean something to you. A thunderstorm environment with 1,000 joules per kilogram is considered moderately favorable for severe weather. 2,000 is significant. 3,000 is high-end. 4,000 joules per kilogram is an explosive, charged, supercharged atmospheric cannon aimed directly at the Texas plains this afternoon. And it means that when storms ignite, and they will ignite, they will punch up through the atmosphere with a violence and speed that produces the most dangerous storm types that exist. Tall, organized, rotating supercell thunderstorms capable of producing every hazard simultaneously. Get ready, because hail is the second major story today, and it deserves its own alarm. When many people hear severe thunderstorms, they think first about tornadoes. That is understandable. Tornadoes dominate headlines and imagery. But in terms of widespread property destruction, insurance losses, and the number of people affected in a single metro area, giant hail can be every bit as devastating. And today, the setup supports exactly that threat. Forecasters are warning that supercells developing through the early to mid-afternoon hours may have enough instability, moisture, and strong updraft strength to produce baseball-sized hail, especially with isolated discrete storms that can remain separated rather than merging into messy clusters. That matters because isolated supercells often become the most efficient hail producers. Why? Because they have clean inflow. Warm, humid air rises rapidly into the storm without interference from neighboring storms. The stronger the updraft, the longer hailstones are suspended inside the storm where they collect layers of ice again and again before gravity finally wins. That is how stones become destructive. Baseball-sized hail is roughly 75 inches in diameter, and it does not drift gently to the ground. Large hail can fall at speeds approaching or exceeding 100 miles per hour, depending on size, density, wind dynamics, and storm structure. That turns ice into a projectile. At those speeds, hail can shatter windshields instantly, crack side windows, dent and puncture vehicle body panels, destroy roofing shingles, break skylights, rip siding, smash solar panels, damage HVAC units, injure livestock, seriously wound anyone caught outside. A 5-minute hail barrage can create losses that take months to repair. One storm, one neighborhood, one afternoon, and the economic scale of hail damage is often underestimated. In 2024, a major hailstorm in Calgary, Canada, reportedly caused insured losses exceeding $3 billion in a matter of hours. Texas experiences multi-billion-dollar hail damage regularly because of its combination of large metro areas, sprawling suburbs, and frequent severe storm environments. That is why today's threat across the Dallas-Fort Worth corridor, west toward Abilene, and nearby parts of North and Central Texas deserves immediate practical action. If your vehicle is outside in the risk zone right now, move it. Do not wait until thunder starts. Once hail begins, roads clog, panic increases, and visibility can collapse. Use, garages, covered parking, parking decks, commercial canopies where permitted, sturdy carports, any substantial overhead protection. Even temporary cover can mean the difference between no damage and a totaled vehicle. And do not make a common mistake, parking under trees. Branches break, limbs fall. Trees add another hazard rather than removing one. If you're driving when giant hail begins, pull over safely to a sheltered location if available. Gas station canopies may help in smaller hail, but are not guaranteed protection in extreme hail and high winds. Stay inside the vehicle, face away from windows if possible, and protect your head. For homeowners, now is the moment to bring patio furniture, grills, planters, and loose outdoor items inside. Hail combined with strong winds can turn everyday objects into debris. There is also a meteorological reason this threat may peak before many people expect. Early discrete supercells in unstable afternoon air can sometimes produce the largest hail before storms later merge into lines. Translation: some of the most dangerous hail may come earlier, not after dark. So do not focus only on tornado warnings today. Hail may be the first major impact many communities feel. And unlike tornadoes, giant hail can strike a huge portion of a metro area at once. If you're in the risk zone, protecting your car, roof, and family in the next hour may save thousands of dollars and possibly prevent injuries before the first warning is ever issued. Stay alert, because even though the tornado risk today is described as conditional and generally on the lower end compared to the wind and hail threats, conditional does not mean zero. And in the severe weather world, 0 is the only number that allows you to stop paying attention. Forecasters are specifically watching for the possibility of a 5% tornado risk upgrade near Abilene, Texas, and they are not ruling out an isolated strong tornado if any of the discrete supercells developing in the early afternoon manage to become surface-based in the favorable environment that is setting up. What does surface-based mean? It means the storm's rotating updraft is feeding directly from the warm, moist air at the ground level, the most unstable, tornado-favorable layer of the atmosphere. When a supercell becomes surface-based in an environment with sufficient wind shear and enough instability, the rotation that was already present in the mesocyclone can tighten and accelerate downward. And a rotating column of air that tightens and accelerates downward is a tornado. The specific window for the tornado concerned today runs from the early afternoon through the evening hours, particularly around the I-20 corridor outside Fort Worth, and near the areas where discrete supercells are most likely to fire before the storms upscale into the main squall line. Get ready, because here is exactly how the day is going to unfold, hour by hour. Right now, a weak cluster of thunderstorms is already rolling through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, producing scattered, damaging wind gusts. This is the opening act. By 1 to 2 in the afternoon, the risk escalates as an isolated large to very large hailstorm becomes possible near the Dallas-Fort Worth metro, along with a low tornado risk near the I-20 corridor just outside of Fort Worth. This is your warning window. This is the period when you should be finalizing your shelter plan, not deciding whether you need one. By 3 to 4 in the afternoon, the storms are going to explode across Texas, rapidly. The atmosphere ignites. A large cluster of thunderstorms will develop back over near Lubbock, Odessa, and just west of Abilene. Discrete supercells will be firing near the I-20 corridor, tracking south and east, producing an elevated risk of very large hail and carrying that conditional isolated strong tornado threat for any storm that becomes surface-based. By 5 in the afternoon, the line of thunderstorms intensifies and moves toward Abilene, and this is the moment when the most significant damaging wind threat begins to fully materialize. 85-mile-per-hour gusts are possible in the most intense cells. A discrete supercell out in front of the main line still carries the very large hail and isolated tornado concern. Stay alert, because by 7 to 8 in the evening, these storms are crashing into the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. This is the prime time window for the urban core of one of the largest metropolitan areas in the United States to experience the worst of what this system has to offer. Damaging winds, large hail, and possibly a brief tornado mixed in. The I-35 corridor near Killeen and Austin is also in the direct path as the line of storms tracks south and east. By 9 to 10 at night, the damaging wind potential remains intense along that entire corridor. And then by 11 at night, through the overnight hours, this line of thunderstorms keeps marching. Houston is in the path during the overnight hours. San Antonio, Laredo, places as far south as the border corridor are going to be dealing with at least thunderstorms and potentially severe weather as this system sweeps through. Make no mistake about what overnight severe weather means. The storms do not weaken because it is dark outside. But your ability to see them, hear them, respond to them, and reach shelter safely is dramatically reduced when you are asleep. And the street outside is pitch black, and the radar you were watching 4 hours ago is now outdated. Get ready, because tomorrow, Monday, the system shifts east and the hazard footprint moves with it. There's a large marginal threat of severe weather from Melbourne and Port St. Lucie in Florida all the way back through Alabama into Cape Hatteras on the North Carolina coast. Isolated damaging winds and some isolated hail are the main concerns. There's a very low but real possibility of a brief tornado somewhere from Daytona Beach back through Charleston and potentially as far north as Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Coastal populations in those areas have a shorter severe weather cultural reflex than communities in the deep south and plain states. Many people along those coastal corridors hear tornado threat and think it applies to someone else. It does not. Have an extra way to receive weather alerts Monday in case something develops quickly in your area. Stay alert, because the significance of what is happening today goes beyond the immediate storm. This Mother's Day event is not an isolated eruption. It is part of a weeks-long active pattern that AccuWeather's senior meteorologist, Adam Doughty, described with a phrase that should be posted on every refrigerator in the southern and central United States right now. He said the pattern conducive to severe weather is not letting up yet. And the people in the south central and southeastern states need to stay alert and have multiple ways to receive warnings that can wake them up at night. That warning about nighttime alerts is not casual advice. It is operationally critical guidance from a professional who understands that the storms of the coming days and weeks are going to arrive at all hours, and that the communities in their paths have been under near continuous severe weather threat for months without adequate rest between events. Get ready, because after today's system passes, the pattern does not shut down. Confidence is growing among forecasters that a highly active jet stream will bring multiple powerful disturbances across the central and eastern United States later this week and into next weekend. The European model is already hinting at several large storm systems making their way over the Rockies between May 16th and May 23rd that could return significant severe weather outbreaks to the Midwest and Great Plains. This is the corridor that has already been battered by relentless severe weather since March. The same corridor that saw an EF3 tornado stay on the ground for 70 miles in the Mississippi, the April 17th outbreak with 85 confirmed tornadoes, the Enid EF4 with 175 mile-per-hour winds. This corridor has not had a lasting break, and the atmosphere is about to come back for another round. Stay alert, because a detail that almost never gets discussed in storm coverage is this. May 10th, Mother's Day, 2026, falls squarely within the climatological peak of tornado season for the United States. Not the shoulder of the season, the absolute peak. The national tornado average for May is between 275 and 294 confirmed tornadoes per month, the highest of any month in the year. June is lower, April is lower. May is the month when every ingredient for tornado production, Gulf moisture, atmospheric instability, mid-level wind shear, a jet stream still packed with energy, reaches its seasonal maximum simultaneously. Doing anything today that requires you to be outdoors or in an unprotected structure in the risk zone without a shelter plan is statistically the riskiest outdoor decision you can make at this point on the calendar. The atmosphere is not exaggerating today. It is performing exactly as the physics of a loaded peak season May setup dictates. Get ready with a specific and practiced plan before these storms arrive. Identify the interior room on the lowest level of the strongest building you have access to. Put on shoes before you go to sleep tonight. Keep a battery-powered weather radio that will alarm audibly even when your phone is silenced. Know that a tornado warning for your county means a tornado is imminent or occurring, not possible, not watch conditions, and you should be moving to your shelter the moment that warning is issued, not watching through a window to see if you can spot the funnel. Know that 85 mile-per-hour straight-line winds are arriving before you see a visible funnel cloud, because the squall line does not announce itself with a visible rotation. It arrives as a wall of dark sky and roaring wind that snaps trees and throws debris simultaneously. The dangerous Mother's Day storm is not on its way. It is here. It is developing right now across Texas. It is going to peak in intensity during the afternoon and evening hours and sweep through millions of people's lives before midnight tonight. And then it is going to keep moving east. And then the atmosphere is going to reload. And then the next system is going to follow. Stay alert. Get ready. Have your plan. And make sure the most important people in your life, the ones you are celebrating today, have their plans too. Because nothing says love like making sure the people you care about know exactly where to go when the sky turns green and the wind picks up and the sirens start to scream.